Today, we're discussing California Governor Gavin Newsom and the race to succeed him, plus the new DOJ investigation on Newsom and his wife, and new reports on a plot to attack the White House during the UFC event that led to several arrests, including a 19-year-old suspect, plus the new opening of the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago this week. Welcome to the premiere of the Washington Journal right here on RightNow News. This is the Sunday political show covering the latest developments from Washington, D.C. and across the political world. We start off with the major event this week on Monday when California Governor Gavin Newsom said he and his wife are under investigation by the Department of Justice. In a video posted on Monday on social media, Newsom claimed that the federal investigators have contacted his family, his friends, former employers, and organizations that have been connected to him and his wife, Jennifer Newsom. He says agents have requested records of years of documents. Here's a snippet from the video he posted online.
In recent days, federal agents have knocked on the doors of family, friends, and former employees. Not because they found a crime, because they're simply trying to find one. They're demanding records. They're abusing the grand jury process, digging through years and years of random documents.
The Democratic governor accused President Trump and his administration of targeting him for political reasons, claiming the investigation is connected to his potential plans to run for president in the future. Newsom said, and quote, "Donald Trump isn't just coming after me because of my criticisms of him. He's coming after me because I'm considering running for president," end quote. The governor also compared his situation to investigations involving other Trump critics, including New York Attorney General Latina James, former FBI Director James Comey, and former Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. The Justice Department declined any comments on the investigation. According to multiple sources familiar with the matter, that multiple investigations are connected to the Newsoms that are being handled by the attorney's office in Sacramento. One probe has reportedly been underway for about a year and may have originated from a whistleblower complaint. Sources also say one investigation involves Jennifer Newsom's taxes, while another is connected to the former Newsom Chief of Staff Dana Williamson, who pled guilty last month to federal fraud, tax, and false statement charges. An advisor to the governor says the investigators have issued subpoenas, have conducted interviews as well, and expanded their inquiries within the recent months. In his message, Newsom called on President Trump to leave his family out of what he describes as political vendetta. The investigation marks the latest chapter in the ongoing political feud between both President Trump and Governor Gavin Newsom, who have frequently exchanged criticism over policy and politics. Now let's move on over to the G7 summit, where President Donald Trump says he has formally signed a framework agreement with Iran aimed at ending the ongoing conflict between both countries. The signing took place Wednesday night during a dinner with French President Emmanuel Macron following Trump's visit to the G7 summit in France. Earlier that day, senior administration officials released details of the agreement, which Trump first announced on Sunday of this past week. The framework lays out the initial steps towards ending military operations and negotiations as permanent peace deals are ongoing and being negotiated. Under the agreement, the United States and Iran declared an immediate end to military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, and also a pledge to not launch any future attacks against one another. The framework is also established a 60-day negotiation period, which can be extended by a mutual agreement to finalize a comprehensive peace deal. The United States will begin removing a naval blockade immediately and plans to fully lift it within 30 days of its final agreement. Iran has also agreed to use its best efforts to ensure the safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, a key global shipping route. The agreement also outlines plans for a reconstruction and economic development fund worth over $300 billion. President Trump says that the United States wouldn't directly contribute to the fund, but would support any investment efforts from other countries. As part of the final deal, the United States said it would lift its sanctions on Iran and would release frozen Iranian assets. On the nuclear issue, Iran has agreed not to pursue or develop any nuclear weapons, while both countries will work together on a plan to address Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium. President Trump says that technical negotiations on Iran's nuclear program would begin immediately and emphasized that any economic relief provided to Iran would depend on the country's compliance with the agreement. Trump urged that the deal was necessary to prevent any prolonged conflict and any further damage to the global economy, which has been impacted by the rising oil prices and the disruption to the international shipping routes. Many details remain still unsolved and many questions arise. Plus, any addresses of any future negotiations will be addressed within the next several weeks, according to the administration. And when we come back, President Trump's planned 250 UFC celebration comes with some disturbing updates on an alleged planned attempted attack. Later in the show, the missing congressman is expected to return to office after months of absence from Capitol Hill. You're watching the Washington Journal on RightNow News. Welcome back. With Trump's lavish 80th birthday celebration and the American 250 celebration of the USC fight on the White House grounds came with a disturbing update as federal authorities say that they have disrupted an alleged plot on an attack at the event. According to court documents that were unsealed Tuesday, investigators uncovered plans that involved explosive drones and a potential mass shooting targeting attendees as they fled the area. 5 people have been arrested across multiple state lines and are facing charges that include conspiracy to commit murder. Authorities say that they have recovered firearms, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and encrypted messages that detailed plans for the attack. Investigators allege that the suspect shared photos of the White House area and discussed escape routes following the planned assault. The FBI was first made aware of the threat just days before the event was held at the White House South Lawn. FBI Director Kash Patel says that the agency worked with federal, state, and local partners in a multi-state operation that led to arrest and what officials described prevented a potential deadly attack. The investigation remains ongoing, and authorities say additional individuals could face scrutiny as agents continue reviewing evidence. Court documents indicate some suspects promoted extreme conspiracies and made anti-Semitic comments online. In several cases, family members reported to law enforcement after they became concerned in change in behavior and very concerning purchases. One suspect, who was 19 years old, was arrested in Ohio. Also, others were arrested in the states of California and Missouri. Prosecutors allege members of the group discussed creating a safe house escape plan and a potential target list that included President Trump, the Vice President, and businessman Elon Musk, among others. The Secret Service says it worked closely with the FBI throughout the investigation and credited the agents and the security team for helping identify and stop what was the alleged plot to attack the place. The UFC event was held Sunday evening on the White House South Lawn, which attracted thousands of spectators and featured heightened security measures throughout the area. Now to our next story, where President Trump has now officially unveiled a new Air Force One aircraft. The Boeing 747, donated by the government of Qatar and has been extensively now modified by the U.S. Air Force, was introduced this past Friday at Joint Base Andrews outside of Washington, D.C. Trump toured the aircraft and praised its design, calling it, in quote, the largest and the greatest in every aspect, end quote. The jet features a red and white plus a dark blue and gold accent scheme. The design was first proposed during Trump's first term before being reinstated following his return in office. The aircraft, known by Air Force as VC-25B Bridge, is intended to serve as a temporarily presidential aircraft, while 2 additional next-generation Air Force jets are undergoing modifications. The Air Force officials say that the new planes have completed major upgrades, including communications, security, defense system, everything required to transport the U.S. president safely around the world. The unveiling of the new aircraft comes as the current VC-25A aircraft, which has served as Air Force One since the 1990s, begins transitioning out of its primary role. The White House officials marked what may have been one of the final flights aboard when Trump returned home from the G7 summit in France. The existing Air Force One fleet has carried 7 presidents over the span of its 3 decades. It played very key roles in historic moments, including transporting President George W. Bush during the September 11 terrorist attacks. But now the new aircraft is expected to participate in a major military flyover on July 4th, which will mark the first time or one of the many first times being used. This is a part of the celebration that will mark America's 250th anniversary. One of the things that are coming concern is that obviously this was paid by American tax dollars, and it will be a craft that will be used for probably the next 2 years, while 2 other jets are currently being modified and getting ready to replace what was Air Force One that was being used for the last 30 years. That plan has been in place since 2018 during Trump's first term, where Air Force One was gonna retire, the one that just retired, and 2 different planes were gonna take its place, but change of plans. Obviously, with this aircraft that was donated by Qatar, that part has also faced major criticism from lawmakers, security experts who raise concerns about the ethic and the cost that is associated with accepting the gift. Aviation experts estimate the modifications and the security upgrades could cost more than $1 billion. The Air Force says that the VC-25B bridge aircraft will soon begin commissioning flights to certify it for presidential travel and help reduce strain on the current fleet. Officials say that the existing Air Force One aircraft will remain in service for now alongside the new jet and other executive transports aircrafts. Let's go now to our midterm elections. It's 2026. It's a big year for elections. You know, it's not the general election, so it's not a presidential election, but it's midterm year. And we have been projecting for days now that Javier Becerra and Steve Hilton will advance to the November general election for California's race for governor. Under California's top two primary system, the Democrat and Republican emerging as leading vote getters and will face off in November. Becerra finished statewide with a 28% of the votes, following by Hilton with a nearly 25%. Tom Steyer, who is a Democrat, placed third, while Republican Riverside County Sheriff Chad Bianco finished fourth. Becerra's victory comes after a dramatic campaign season that saw Congressman Eric Swalwell suspend his gubernatorial bid amid alleged allegations of sexual misconduct. Although Swalwell withdrew from the race, his name remained on the ballot because of the filing deadline. Now, thousands of Californians, about 30,000 of Californians, did vote for him, even though he had left the race. But with Swalwell's resignation from Congress, it triggered a special election in California for the 14th Congressional District. State Senator Alicia Wahab and Melissa Hernandez have advanced to what is expected to be a face-off of each other in a special election runoff as well in November. But with that, when we come back, the missing congressman from New Jersey is expected to return later this month. We'll break down what we know about his lengthy absence. Plus, former President Barack Obama joined supporters in celebrating the opening of the new Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. You're watching the Washington Journal on RightNow News. Welcome back. The Republican congressman missing Tom King Jr. of New Jersey is expected to return back to Capitol Hill on June 30th. This will be ending a nearly 3-month absence that have fueled speculation and concerns within Washington. A spokesperson for his office confirmed that Congressman will return to the House of Representatives at the end of the month and has pledged to be fully transparent about the medical condition that kept him away from Washington. King has not casted a vote in the House since March 5th and has largely remained out of public view. In April, he revealed he was dealing with a what he described as a personal medical issue, but did not disclose any further detail. His prolonged absence raised questions among lawmakers, constituents, and others, particularly because King represents one of the most competitive congressional districts in the country. Throughout his recovery, Ken has repeatedly stated that he planned to return to work soon, and in multiple other public statements, he said doctors expect him to make a full recovery and return to a full schedule. The congressman's absent forced House Republican leaders to navigate a very narrow majority without his vote during several key legislation battles. Despite being away from Capitol Hill, King's office says constituent services continued uninterrupted and he has remained engaged in district matters remotely. His official social media account continued to post updates on federal funding, local events, and other important matters. If we look at his Facebook, official congressional Facebook page, what is called Team King, not Tom, still do local events even with his absence. For example, this photo from June 7th, a man who is obviously not Tom, posed in a picture caption, "Stop by Team King's booth at the Berkeley Heights block party to learn more about constituent services." With that, comments under the post had some sarcasm to them and some laughters, with one person saying, quote, "There is no Tom in team." Another said, "At this point," end quote, "at this point, should this guy just run? He is the one showing up for every event." This is not the only post or event that he showed up to. This spans from right now June all the way back to April. This included events like Bridgewater, also at a senior expo, plus others. The House Speaker Mike Johnson has said that he is aware of King's health challenges but respected the congressman's request to keep those details private. Johnson described King as being in good spirit and emphasized that there is no scandal surrounding his absence. King, who is seeking a third term in Congress, won the Republican primary unopposed and will face Democrat Rebecca Bennett in the November election. The New Jersey Republican says he will remain focused on his recovery and eager to return to serving the people of New Jersey's 7th congressional district when he returns to Washington on June 30th. King says he plans to publicly discuss the nature of his medical condition that kept him away from office for nearly 4 months. He also did get a presidential endorsement by President Trump for a third term. Now, before we go, more than a decade after its planned announcement, the Obama Presidential Center has now officially opened on Chicago's South Side with a star-studded dedication ceremony featuring former presidents, celebrities, and thousands of visitors. The $850 million campus serves as the public home of former President Barack Obama's legacy and includes a museum, a public library, civic spaces, and community gathering areas. Former President Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Joe Biden were all in attendance, along with former First Ladies Michelle Obama, Hillary Clinton, Laura Bush, and Joe Biden. The event also attracted prominent political figures, including former Vice President Kamala Harris, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and current Governor of California Gavin Newsom. Hollywood and entertainment stars were also on hand, including Oprah Winfrey, Tom Hanks, Conan O'Brien, Stephen Colbert, among with others. Celebration featured performances by Jennifer Hudson, John Legend, Mark Anthony, Christina Aguilar, and many more. But during the ceremony, President Obama reflected on his arrival to Chicago as a young community organizer and said that the city helped him shape his life and his career. Obama told the crowd that Chicago is where he found his purpose and said that the Presidential Center could not have been built anywhere else. Michelle Obama later delivered an emotional tribute to her husband, praising his leadership and dedication to public service throughout his presidency. The center breaks from its traditional presidential library model, which presidents since Hoover have had. Instead, this won't, be the traditional sense of a library archive only, but instead of housing, like the other centers, house the physical archives of what the presidents have done within the span of their first and only term, or their first and second term. President Obama's records will be stored digitally. The campus will be focusing on education, civic engagement, and community development. The 19-acre site includes a museum tower, a public library, walking trails, playground, and so much more. The Obamas say that they hope that the center becomes more than a museum and serves as a lasting investment in the Chicago South Side, creating opportunities for future generations and much more. Michelle Obama encouraged residents to embrace the campus as their own, calling it a place for the entire community to gather, learn, and grow. But one of the things when it came to the event was we saw all these former presidents and first ladies, but a notable absent was President Trump, who was the only current living president who did not attend the presidential center opening, and nor did First Lady Melania Trump. The Presidential Center officially opened on Friday of this past week, with Obama greeting the first 100 people in public following the Thursday ceremony. That does it for the first edition of the Washington Journal. Thank you for watching right here on Right Now News. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Also follow us on Instagram and social media _RightNow News. And follow me personally at Tony Martinez Now. We will see you here for the next edition of the Washington Journal. Until then, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay ahead of the story.